In this section, we are going to talk about scope management. What is scope, how to manage it effectively, practice examples, and typical problems you might face during scope management. And we will close out the section with insights. What is scope? Scope is an amount of work that has to be done within particular time, budget, and with a certain quality. It's important to define scope for every project before the project starts. If you don't do that, you will face a typical problem when scope of work increases, you don't have enough time and budget to complete all work, and this starts affecting quality. To understand and effectively manage scope, we should incorporate two terms. It's project scope and sprint scope. Project scope stands for all scope that should be done within the project, while sprint scope describes only pieces of work we need to complete within one sprint, for example, 2 weeks. Splitting project scope and sprint scope can help you to plan sequence of work, timelines, resource allocation, and just understand if you can meet deadlines or not. For example, we are to build 10-page website and we split work on sprints and define that we will need 2 sprints to complete all work. We'll design and transform pages into HTML and CSS within first sprint and connect them to CMS, for example WordPress, plus do quality assurance during the second sprint. Therefore, you define sprint scope per each of them. And you can plan resources accordingly. For example, you need designers and front-end developers within first sprint and back-end developers plus quality assurance guys during the second sprint. Now we are coming up to two terms more, like in scope and out of scope. They sound pretty self-explanatory. In scope describes piece of work that is included into the current scope of work, and out of scope describes what's not. These two terms are very helpful in practice. For example, once you go through a backlog of tasks and you mark which of them are in scope and which of them are out of scope. This approach can give you a helicopter view of everything what is out of scope. So then you can decide what to do with that. Either just exclude or postpone for future time, or involve extra resources to also complete out of scope tasks. One more case that can illustrate why we need to define in scope versus out of scope. For example, you have 100,000 budget for a project and the client comes up with a new task, and you as a project manager understand that this is out of scope and it's just a new feature. If you take the task into the work, this will extend project timeline and take extra resources. So project manager has to communicate that to a client and suggest possible solutions. There is also one more term you're going to face is scope creep. Scope creep is a situation when initial project scope got extended comparing to initial goals. For example, you got agreed to build one-page landing page with a product catalog, and then the scope changed and now you have to build shopping cart and connect payment module so users can add products in shopping cart and pay via credit card. Scope creep is the most common reason to fail projects. Exactly that's why project manager have to clearly define in scope versus out of scope and control scope during project delivery. We will take a look at some practice methods that will allow you to do that in a while. The next important topic we need to cover during scope management is a project roadmap. Roadmap is a way to visualize list of tasks that should be completed against timeline. Roadmap can be high level and detailed. For example, you're to build CRM system and typically project manager has to synchronize some key activities with top management or other teams. So for such case, we might use high level roadmap. Let's imagine we are to build integration between our CRM and website. So we might split the whole project on the following milestones. Discovery, for example, 1 sprint, implementation, 3 sprints, quality assurance and release to production can take 2 sprints. So it's a high-level roadmap, but even this map can already help you to understand what resources you need during which milestone. To plan delivery properly, we need to build a detailed roadmap. Let's make a detailed one based on the high-level example we have just taken a look at. Here is an example of the detailed view roadmap. So, what we can see here. In the left column, first column, we have a list of features we are to develop. Then we have a list of sprints and amount of weeks. For you as a project manager, you are thinking like typically in the view of sprints, but for the client, typically it's much easier to understand the timeline just in calendar weeks. So it's better to have the both of them. As for features, it's better to place them in the chronological order. Let's say features that should be developed first should be just placed here first. So it would be just easier for you to read the whole roadmap. Then tasks that are gonna be completed during particular period of time, you just fill with like any background color. So this way, like in the view of like Gantt chart, it's typically called like a Gantt chart. This such a view of the roadmap, you can easily visualize and understand what should be done and when. So let's quickly go back to our high-level roadmap. So we were to complete the discovery phase within the first sprint. And for example, in the detailed view roadmap, we got agreed that that discovery will include 3 tasks. Discover business goals, define tools and architecture, and define timeline and required resources for the project. So we marked that these first 3 tasks are going to be completed within sprint 1. Then in the high-level roadmap, we also told that the whole implementation phase will take like 3 weeks. Here we already displayed like a detailed view of all these 3 sprints of feature development. And for example, like create API, sync between CRM API and website, sync leads from contact form on website and CRM, etc. That's just an example of the features that do not make any kind of sense. And with the help of such a detailed view roadmap, you, your client, and team can easily understand what and when you are going to complete. And the last 2 sprints we dedicated to. Then you might have another question, okay, how to define if it will take 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 sprint, so how to properly plan in this roadmap. The answer is pretty simple, as we discussed already within the delivery in agile style section of this course. We should have sessions with the team like pre-groomings and groomings, and exactly during the groomings we are to estimate the tasks either in story points or in hours, so whatever approach your company is using for estimations. And having tasks estimated, you can easily plan and at least foresee how many time it will take to complete each task, and just display this on the like visual timeline. One more important thing we need to remember as project managers, for example, like this task, send leads got from social medias to CRM, cannot be completed before we create the API. So once you are building this detailed view of the roadmap, we should always remember there should be dependencies. And if you as a project manager cannot define the dependencies yourself, so you just need to directly talk to your team and discuss with them what tasks should go first, then estimate them and reflect on this detailed view roadmap. So I will attach this template for your references in the resources section, and you can just download it and adopt to your own project needs. So, having known sequences of the tasks, we can easily plan resources for all projects. We can plan what services, specialists, and other resources we might need and when. We'll take a look at resource planning in detail in another section of the course. During building roadmap, you will face a problem: how to define which tasks should go first. Moreover, there could be dependencies when you can't build, for example, a dashboard to do a design. Build backend to collect all data, and only then you can build a dashboard. So, when you build a roadmap, you always should think about dependencies. How to define dependencies? Experienced project managers typically know dependencies in advance. For example, if we build CRM system, it's clear that we get the requirements, do design, develop, prepare CI/CD, etc. If there is some uncertainty, what should go first? Project manager should just talk to team members to understand what they need to complete their work and set priorities together with team members. You can also use one simple approach that will allow you to understand dependencies. Let's go back to our CRM example and let's say we need to build a dashboard. We need to ask ourselves, okay, what should be the final result? Okay, it's dashboard with the following data. Then you need to think if you're going to create custom design or use out-of-the-box libraries. Do we already store all data in database or we need to extend backend to start collecting all data? And finally, how are we going to deploy the dashboard to the application? So you can start reflecting from the end result and coming up closer and closer to the start to define the first priority tasks. I usually build roadmap in Excel as it gives a lot of flexibility to visualize data. And while I track dependencies via Jira, let me show you how to track dependencies and roadmap in Jira. This course doesn't include a detailed overview how to set up Jira or another ticket system because it's just a separate deep topic. I just want to show you core principles that will help you to manage scope despite of any software you're going to use. And I would like to show you one more approach to track the dependencies because in roadmap view it's pretty tough to see all dependencies because like there is just a list of tasks. But you can use your ticket system, for example, in my case it's Jira, and you can easily track the dependencies of tasks exactly via ticket systems. And I can show that this task 143 blocks ticket 144. So what it means for me as a project manager and the whole team that you cannot start completing task 144 before this task is done. And here's how we can add relations of the tickets exactly in Jira. You can click, for example, add linked issues, and then you can have a plenty of different statuses like if it is blocked by, if it is block any kind of ticket, if it's duplicated, if it just relates, includes, whatever. You can see, so you can add a lot of different labels of relations. And exactly this approach can easily help you to combine tickets into groups exactly within your ticket system. And I would like to also quickly show you that actually roadmap typically is also integrated into the ticket systems. And for example, in Jira, you can also build roadmaps if you do not want to, for example, have an external source for the roadmap, like build it, for example, in Excel spreadsheet and then track the tasks themselves in a ticket system. You can also build roadmaps within your Jira or Teamwork or another software you're using. It's just a matter of taste, how you want to do that. And definitely the advantage of building roadmap inside ticket system is that you can see these relations of the linked tickets already inside the roadmap. And I would like to close out the section with some useful insights. Be ready for changes in roadmap. Roadmap is a dynamic object, not static. You can't create a roadmap that will not change. It's absolutely okay if you change scope, move priorities and dependencies. Absolutely each project suffers with scope creep. So you as a project manager should have a plan how to cope with that at the very beginning of the project. For example, if it's a fixed price project, you can start preparing a client for future change requests and extra budget. Roadmap can also help you to plan your team and allocation. For example, you can add names of team members right on the roadmap to visualize who is going to be involved. This simple approach will reduce a risk of over allocation and help you to plan timeline more precisely. A typical mistake is when project manager doesn't include into a project time required for quality assurance, hardening, regression testing, or release itself, while all of this is a big chunk of work. For example, you can mark that a task is going to be done in the end of December, but then you need some time to release the application on the pre-production environment and do regression. Then release the application to production environment and do smoke testing in production. And only then a project can be considered as completed. Thanks for watching this section of the course and see you in the next section. Cheers.